Hello, Mayflom here, and today we're going to talk about stamp masking. So here's an image that I colored. Now there's a lot of different ways to stamp images. I just wanted to touch base. I've done some masking videos in the past. When and why? Well, first of all, there is something called masking fluid. However, you will never see me use it. It is just way too much effort. I'm not doing it. Nothing I do, nothing with my style is worth it, but there is a fluid that you can use. Personally, I either use some masking paper, like you can see here, that's a little bit sticky on the back, or plain paper, depending on what I'm trying to do. To get a mask, you would just stamp your image, cut it out by hand or with a scan and cut, because you can scan and cut things out with that, and then place it. Now, the only tricky part here, and it really is the only tricky part, is that you just have to be aware of your order of stamping. And what I mean by that is whatever is going to be in the front goes on first, gets covered up first, and then gets exposed last. Why? Because that's going to protect all of your stamping edges the best. If I had stamped this heart first, there would be a heart in her head. And I didn't want a heart in front of her head. I want the heart behind her head. So you work front to back. My other tip to you for stamping a scene, here you see some scratch paper. Go ahead and test it out. So here you can see, I'm kind of working out my ideas here and figuring out what's what. And here's the original of this one. So I was figuring out what order I would like, how I would like it, etc., before I went ahead and did my masking. So is there unlimited ways that we could approach this? Are there pretty much unlimited stamps and unlimited combos? Absolutely. What I want to show you today is I have this neat and tangled stamp set, and I'm going to show you something a little bit different because it's not going to be what you might normally think of for masking. So this main image is actually not going to be our front. Our front is going to be this little stamp. So I've got my sentiment stamp. This is a little different because this time what I'm going to do, I'm going to stamp my sentiment. We are so grateful for you. And if it's not straight, that's fine because you'll see what I'm going to do here. So you can, of course, always stamp whatever images that you have. What is the rule? The rule is whatever is in the front goes down first and gets covered up with a mask. Why is that the rule? Again, once you start inking, it's whatever we add ink to now. If I was to stamp this over this now, we would get lines all the way through this and you really wouldn't be able to see it very well. So instead, I'm going to cut a little strip of paper, cover it up, and I'm also going to tear the ends before I pull out my floral stamp. So what this is doing then is just protecting. Oops, and that's okay. Don't worry about it, we'll make it work. So I'm just protecting whatever my front layer is, and it doesn't matter if I just cut out a block or shape, or if I cut out the exact stamp shape. For example, I could cut out this entire floral design, and let's see, I think I like it like that, and I think I want it right about there. So I'm just pressing firmly all over, make sure we get a nice stamp, and I probably should have pulled out my stamp press, but that's okay. And as you can see, it's stamped all the way around. Now, if you get a little bit of detail that you're not happy with, I would really recommend, especially if you're coloring, just go ahead and kind of color in a little bit. But don't worry about it too much, because it's all going to work out, okay? But, and this is this particular pen is going to be really good because it is waterproof, so it's not going to be a problem as far as, well, what are we going to do when we go and do this, and color this in, it's all going to look funky? No, it's going to look fine. So if you lift this up, what we're going to see is our sentiment perfectly preserved, all along the edges, preserved. Now, at this point, you can take this off or you can start coloring. It's up to you. Remember, it's just all about how are you approaching your stamping? What are you making? How are you doing it? How do you want to do it? What works for you? There's not a wrong answer here. The right answer, though, when it comes to masking is when is it going to help you get the results you want? Just like any stamping technique, when is it going to help you get the results that you're trying to get? And when does it make sense? Well, the short answer is it makes sense whenever you are trying to get something up front to not be interfered with, but then layer other stamps. Typically, it's when I would be using these kinds of inks, this archival ink and watercoloring and this and that. A lot of the mediums you can color over, I can ink over or do this or that. It's really going to become what works for you. What do you like? And, what are you making there? What are you trying to do? I'm mixing up, this is a clean color pen. It's kind of like, I think of it kind of like a watercolor marker because it has kind of watercolor qualities. I like to mix and match my mediums when I'm playing based on what colors do I have, what colors do I want, what mediums do I have, how can they work well or not with whatever it is I'm trying to do, and then I just go from there. So we can continue to play with this. I hope that this has been helpful as just another example. It doesn't always have to be an image. It doesn't always have to be an outline of a stamp. You could just put a strip down. Maybe there's something you're doing there where you want a certain look. In this case, my sentiment, I wanted it bold, front and center. Now, could I have stamped this on a separate piece of paper, layered it over, and done it that way? Yes, but this is just a different approach, and I hope you found this helpful. If you have any requests for future videos, be sure to leave me a comment and let me know. I'll see you next time.